Hey, it's 11:40 The Bet Las Vegas. Adrian Hernandez here with your NBA Finals preview, and we're in the Bay Area, and now let's take a red-eye flight to Boston to get the Celtics perspective. John Karalis joins us. He covers the Celtics for the Boston Sports Journal and the Locked On Celtics podcast. All insider calls are presented by BetQL. Get access to data and insight the sportsbooks don't want you to see. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. John, first and foremost, thank you for joining us here in Las Vegas. Momentum is going Boston's way. How are you feeling about the series?
I mean, I do agree that the momentum is going Boston's way. I mean, it's not just that they won game two. I think that the way they're winning these games, it shows that they've got a good game plan. They've got good personnel. I feel pretty confident in the Celtics' ability to win the series.
And with you covering this team this entire year, and I think you talked about it in your latest article that this eight-month journey, that the Celtics have been on. It's interesting to me when we talk about the start of the season, comparing the Celtics and Warriors, because it was kind of polar opposite. There was some drama on the Celtics side. Meanwhile, the Warriors, they started like 18-2 or something like that. But that second half start for the Celtics and being the most dominant team in the second half, was it just the All-Star break, or like what did Coach Udoka really, point to and go to that this team bought in and made them start so hot in the second half?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. I mean, first thing that happened is they got healthy. They had some injuries earlier in the year, COVID, all that craziness. That all kind of went away. So you had a healthy team starting in January. Second thing you had was, I think, a turning point in that early January New York Knicks loss where the Celtics blew a 25-point lead and R.J. Barrett hits a three-pointer in Jayson Tatum's face. And everybody kind of points to that game as the moment where the Celtics were like, okay, enough. We're done with the trying to do this our way. We're going to completely buy into what the coach is trying to do. And then the third thing is the trade deadline, where they traded Dennis Schroeder and Josh Richardson. I think those moves got a couple of ball stoppers out and brought in Derek White, who was a ball mover, a very astute, like 0.5 San Antonio ball movement kind of guy. And they brought Daniel Tice in to kind of get a little bit of depth in the front court. So all of those things together came together at the same time to help Boston turn things around.
And as we get into this NBA Finals and everything that's happened, and in terms of this series, and despite the box score in Game 2 and what happened there, I really thought, and I really think, like even throughout the entire playoffs, Jayson Tatum has kind of grown up in front of our eyes, and how these teams are defending him. And last game he kind of followed Jalen's. Jalen was aggressive from the start of the game, and he was attacking. And to me, Jayson was attacking with purpose. Like, instead of going to the lane trying to get a foul call, no, he was trying to get a bucket. And I think Synergy Sports also said he's created 45% of Boston's points in the finals. From your perspective, what have you seen from Jayson Tatum?
Yeah, Tatum, I think, when he's at his best, that's what he's doing. North-south, kind of playing through people. He's a big guy. And I really do think that sometimes he has to kind of remind himself how big of a guy he is. He's like 6'9", 6'10", broad shoulder. I mean, this dude is like Giannis light. And so I think he needs to kind of get into that mode of constantly attacking and not gliding like he likes to do. Because when you glide and you get fouled, it's hard for the refs to see it. But if you're going north-south and you get fouled and it knocks you off your path, there's an obvious, oh yeah, that got him the foul and the free throw. So I think that is part of his progression as a driver. And then, Ime has put a big emphasis on him kind of with the playmaking. And you see the stats. The Celtics are undefeated when he has seven or more assists in the playoffs. So I think those two elements really make Jayson Tatum a very, very dangerous player. Even when Golden State wants to double him, blitz him, he can get off the ball. And I think in Game 3 what you really saw is he got off the ball a little bit quicker, didn't let them get into those passing lanes, and that really helped the ball movement, and the Celtics really started to score very well.
And another dude who had a huge game, and those 3 days off really helped him, is Robert Williams. And I want to get your insight on what you saw from him last night, and also the concern of, they're resting today, but we got game 4 tomorrow, and how many minutes you think he's going to play? Because I know he played 25 game 3. That was the most he's played in the finals so far. But just talk to me about Robert Williams.
Yeah, Rob was great. I mean, you had 3 guys scoring 20-plus points and 5 or more assists in that game, and I thought Rob was the guy who stood out the most. He's so pivotal. When he's playing well, the Celtics are the best team in the NBA. Honestly, I think when he's able to do what he does best, that just changes the entire dynamic of their defense. It allows them to just be so locked down with their defense, because him roaming, you saw it. He had 4 block shots, but coming over on guys and like leaving his guy roaming in that help side and coming over to block shots, it helps, because it allows the other perimeter guys to understand, like, hey, if you do make a mistake, he's there to bail you out. But also, you can be more aggressive on the perimeter, knowing that there's that safety net back there. So it really has a ripple effect on the defense. And then offensively, just to have that lob threat is huge, because so many times Boston's turnovers, which is really the story of this series, Boston's turnovers, when they get in too deep and they have no outlets, when you can get deep and have Rob there, and you see a guy or 2 or 3 coming at you, you can just kind of throw it up towards the rim, and he's going to go get it. So Rob, when he's healthy or close to healthy, I mean, I don't even know what percentage he is, but it's enough. And so, yeah, I think you're right, though. I think there's a concern with just the 1 day off, how much he's going to be able to give in game 4. But I think he's learning how to manage that injury and play with that injury.
And I want to ask you, because obviously I'm outside perspective here. I've seen most of the games, but I haven't seen them all, and I'm not covering them like you. But I want to know if I'm on the right path. What impressed me the most, and what I think the Celtics are, at least offensively at their best, is when Marcus Smart is not only that facilitator, but I think in last game, he was kind of the pressure point of the offense, of getting into the paint and driving. Because to me, when he's driving and he's able to kick out to Jalen or to Jayson, and then they can go into the paint and drive, that's when you get Al Horford open, and something like game 1 can happen. Am I on the right path in thinking that and having that philosophy?
Yeah, I think you are. I think Marcus is his best as a true point guard. And so this makes things interesting for the Celtics, because when he's not playing well, he's taking some ill-advised shots. He's trying to do a little too much. The Celtics like to put the ball in Tatum's hands and Brown's hands, even Horford's hands sometimes, to start the offense, which pushes Smart off the ball. And that's where he gets into a little bit of trouble, because when he's off the ball, he has a tendency to, hey, I'm a catch and shoot guy. I'm going to catch and I'm going to shoot. And if he's not doing it at the right time in the shot clock, then you get the early shots, the quick shots, the ill-advised ones. When he's the point guard, when he starts with the ball in his hands, you can see his mentality change. He doesn't want to take those quick shots. He actually wants to drive. He actually wants to facilitate and initiate the offense. So I would like to see the Celtics continue to play that a little bit more. And, obviously you have to mix it up, but the more he has the ball in his hands to start a possession, the more effective Smart is, because he's initiating and he's playing with a true point guard mentality.
And to me, we talked about it here, the aggressiveness, and just as important was the no hesitation in some of the decision-making for the team overall. And, of course, that was a response to Golden State in Game 2. So I got to ask you, what do you think is more likely? A Game 3 performance with the aggressiveness, or Game 2 without the post presence and kind of let's all chill by the three-point lane and not drive?
If I had that answer, I'd be out there in Vegas making some money.
Right.
That's the issue with the Celtics. I'd like to think that they are learning and they understand that this is a unique situation. Game 4 at home, got the home crowd behind you and a chance to go up 3-1. This is a real opportunity to seize complete control of this series. So whatever buttons Ime Udoka needs to push, he needs to push them right now, because that's what the Celtics need to do, is come out with that same level of aggression. The quick shots, if he sees it, honestly, if they come out and they start taking quick shots, three-pointers with 22 seconds on the shot clock, I'd call a timeout 30 seconds into the game and sit them down and be like, nope, that is not what we're doing here. And they need that. They need that jolt sometimes. So it's been a little tough. The Celtics have not handled – they're great with adversity. They're not great with prosperity. When things are going well, they tend to be like, we're good. We're good. When their backs are up against the wall, pick the Celtics every single time, because they don't give in. They're a very, very tough team that way. But they're the people, like when you find $20 in your pocket, what do you do with it? The Celtics find $20 in the pocket, they're spending that immediately. They don't save their money. They don't build their wealth. So that's what the Celtics need to do. They need to build on their wealth right now, because if they can, then they have basically, I would like to say, 2 shots to win the title. Game 5 in San Francisco, Game 6 at home. Those are 2 grand opportunities to win a title.
Plus, I'm right. They haven't lost back-to-back in the playoffs yet, right?
They have not only that, they haven't lost back-to-back games in months. If you throw out the Toronto game where they rested 4 starters.
That's nuts.
Yeah, they are a resilient group. They haven't lost in the playoffs 2 in a row. It's been, I don't know, February? Since March, since they've lost 2 in a row. It's been a long, long time.
Those are very good problems to have. A talking point, especially during the broadcast, is the drop coverage with Al Horford and Steph Curry in these first 3 games. I'm going to be honest with you, after the first quarter of Game 1, I was very surprised that he went back to it in Game 2. And I know in the postgame he was asked about it, and it was like, hey, look, we need to show him different defensive just schemes. And I know that the Celtics this season haven't necessarily blitzed, but to you, what do you make of the decision of trying out the drop coverage against Steph?
You know, at first I was confused, and now I'm starting to come around on maybe it's brilliant, because if we think about everybody who's listening, think about Steph and his true brilliance. When he's at his best, it's not even off the dribble. It's when he gives the ball up. He runs through 3 screens. He's impossible to stay with. And then he turns and catches and shoots, and he gets these wide open opportunities. The Celtics, they're still tweaking this coverage. They still need to be further up on some of these. And I think the Celtics really want to force Steph to get into some longer 2s and not those 3s, because, stepping into open 3-pointers is really not the strategy. So they still have to tweak where the big is. But the drop coverage on Curry, I now think, is to encourage Curry to just keep going one-on-one and to not be a facilitator and to not be the guy that starts the avalanche of Warriors passing that makes them absolutely impossible to cover, because they're one of the best passing teams, best cutting teams, best off-ball movement teams. The more you keep it in Steph's hands, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually like a martial arts technique. You move towards the danger, and that's how you neutralize it. You move towards the danger with Steph Curry, and you say, all right, we see you. We know how dangerous you are. You do it, and you do it all by yourself. And look, he's 34. There's only so much he can do. With these teammates, I think possibly this drop coverage is something that is designed to take away a lot of what the rest of the Warriors can do, and to challenge Steph to say, we don't think you can carry these guys anymore on your own with super high usage at this age.
John, you got everybody's attention. I'm going to be honest with you with that answer right there. John Karalis joining us from the Boston Sports Journal and the Locked On Celtics podcast. And you were there for game 3. And since we are talking about Steph, your opinion, number one, was it dirty or not? You know, we got to get into the antics. And then also, like, I do think, and I know he did say earlier today that he is going to play, but this is a huge deal because Jordan Poole hasn't been playing good, and he has been the bulk of his offense. Like, to me, this is humongous if that ankle is not right.
Are you asking if Al Horford's play was dirty?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not at all. The mere suggestion that was dirty is absolutely, I think, a farce. Like Al Horford was diving for the ball. I don't think. I'll put it this way: if anybody thinks that play is dirty, you've never played a day of basketball in your life because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That was, and then on top of it, Al Horford. You think Al Horford's doing something dirty? No. That's outrageous. No, that was, if you watch the entire play and how many bodies were on the floor diving, that's just a byproduct. When the ball is on the floor, everybody hits the deck, and as they say, the first to the ball gets wins, and that's all that was. Now it's unfortunate that Steph was underneath, and no one wants to see Steph get hurt. Like that's not how the Celtics operate. No one wants to see anybody get hurt, and you hope that he's back at full strength. If he's not, that's a real tough blow to the Warriors. But I think I couldn't say this strongly enough. Any suggestion that Al Horford's play was dirty is an utter joke.
And speaking of Al Horford, were you surprised that the Celtics went back to the two big lineup? And then we talked about Rob Williams. He played huge. He also played healthy, which meant out in the perimeter. Unlike game 2, he wasn't toast. And also in those situations where Al and Rob were in, were you surprised Golden State, like they didn't really try to attack that, which surprised me?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they might play Looney more. Giving up the offensive rebounds, the 15 offensive rebounds was a big deal there. I'm not surprised. Like, Ime is going to go with whatever works. So if he sees that Derek White is having a bad game, then Derek White plays fewer minutes than he's used to playing. If he's playing a great game, then he'll play 35 minutes. And that's just what Ime is going to do. And especially in the finals, the finals is no time for formulas. The finals is what's working. Is somebody having a bad game? Boom, sit down or minimize them or somehow. You gotta. I mean, minus your superstar players, you got to let them play through it. But going back to the double big when Rob is healthy, that's how the Celtics have had the best defense in the league and been one of the most dominant teams in the league. Golden State, I'm very curious to see what their response is going to be and how that little chess match goes. But if Rob is anywhere near healthy, he's going to be on the floor.
And John, we appreciate your time. Just a couple more questions. Strong stuff. Strong stuff. We appreciate the insight. I'm gonna have to ask you this because I'd get yelled at by my boss if I don't. The whole Draymond Green, whether it's on the court, on the podcast, and even Klay Thompson now for his second finals to be whining and complaining over again. By the way, I'm from Cleveland, so I enjoy saying all of what I just said. What do you make of it? And even like last night with Draymond Green in the press conference where he made fun of that poor guy who was just asking about the X's and O's. Like, to me, it's not the point of I don't think he's giving out the strategy of the game, but at the same time, if you have content out there, we don't need bulletin board material. This whole fiasco and kind of how Draymond Green has overtaken, Steph Curry's averaging over 30 points and has been playing amazing. He's an afterthought. It just, the whole situation blows my mind.
Yeah, Draymond is he's always been a unique character, right? But now with his podcast, he keeps plugging the podcast, and look, as a podcast host, I appreciate the hustle. But at the same time, you are in the NBA Finals. And I think one thing that these athletes are learning is that when you just go out there and say, hey, I'm going to take control of my platform, so to speak, you really run the risk of digging a hole for yourself, and it's hard to climb out of those holes, because I know how tough it is to keep talking for half an hour by yourself, or however long Draymond talks by himself. And Draymond is unfiltered and isn't like, his mindset isn't, hey, I'm going to be professional broadcaster. He's talking smack on a podcast, and he's talking smack out everywhere. It's hard to balance that and talk as much as he does with the attitude behind it, without saying stuff that kind of, gets you into a little bit of trouble, either by offending somebody or by triggering the opponent and riling up a crowd. And you kind of, I don't know, you don't want to rile up a crowd in the finals like that. The more you piss off Celtics fans, the louder they're going to be, and that place is going to be extraordinarily loud. And if they want to complain about the language that was used, I mean, I get it, but those players using the same language on the floor, don't come at me and tell me, oh, the kids, won't somebody think of the children? Like, what are you talking about? You guys use the exact same language on the court in front of children. I mean, Draymond swore in front of his own son on the podium. Like, spare me this sanctimonious stuff. Like, come on. That's just, you know what that was? It's they're upset that they lost, and they understand that they are in a tough spot. They're frustrated with themselves, and they project out and they put it on somebody else. They're more frustrated about themselves than anything.
And on the flip side, I guess this will be my last question, and I know you were at practice earlier today and got some quotes, but to me, another thing that is huge is that they survived the Steph being Steph and, Clay actually showing up. So, and the barrage that they had in Game 3, in your estimation right now with the Celtics, how confident they are after surviving that?
Well, I mean, it's just like anything, right? Like, if you're afraid of heights and you jump out of a plane and you land and, you get that picture with the thumbs up and the parachute and all that, then you land and you're like, oh my God, I did that, and you feel good about yourself. So there's a natural inclination to be like, oh, okay, they did it. Steph did his thing, Clay did his thing, and we survived. We were able to pull ourselves out of the tailspin. Because one of the things that's been a real killer for the Celtics is they have let things cascade and go down further. That big explosion from Steph, they turned it around at the end of the third quarter. The Warriors took a lead, but the Celtics took the lead right back. And that's a big deal. It makes you wonder if the Celtics can, in Game 4, pull out of that a little bit sooner next time and make it a more normal quarter. Steph's going to have his run, but instead of the last 4 minutes where you turn things around, maybe you turn around at the 6-minute mark and you take control of things a little bit more easily. So, I mean, I'm not in their heads. They seem like a comfortable group. They seem like a confident group, but they're always confident. They were sitting there saying we're confident when they were 18-21, and I was asking them, why can't you guys, finish fourth quarters? Now here they are in the finals, blowing the Warriors out in the fourth quarter. And so if they do have that natural reaction of like, okay, we withstood it, now we know we can do it, let's go do it again, then maybe they'll be able to take care of that a little bit sooner. Something's going to happen. One of those things has to break, right? Either the Celtics have to be better in the third quarter or the Warriors are going to figure out a fourth quarter. But one of those things is going to change, and that team's going to win.
An underrated factor, too, with either of these teams, if you make a mistake on either side, in real time, the other team is going to take advantage of it. But, John, we appreciate everything, all the insight. Be sure to follow John, John_Karalis. He covers the Celtics for the Boston Sports Journal. Go check out and subscribe to the Locked On Celtics podcast. John, thank you so much for the time. Strong stuff, my man.
You got it. Thank you very much.